Well, coming up on 5 News this morning, not the best weekend for Arkansas baseball after falling to LSU, but hey, it's not over yet. The Hogs could still make it to the championship. We'll have that report on that ahead.
And quiet this morning, for the most part quiet later this afternoon and quiet for Tuesday, but not going to be so quiet potentially for Wednesday. We'll have that as well as that heat wave coming up in just a little bit.
And the city of Fayetteville is looking for a quick solution to help the unhoused population. Just a week after plans to sweep an encampment sparked backlash.
But first, a live look outside over Fort Smith. Good morning to you folks there. It's 6:30. 5 News this morning starts now.
Covering news where you live. This is 5 News This Morning.
Well, hey, good Monday morning. We hope you had a great weekend and a great Father's Day, celebrating all of those dads out there. The weather not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. It was a little toasty, but hey, we're not complaining too much. Janie was in Hawaii, living it up. So.
Living it up.
You said it was hotter here when you got home.
I was going to say, yeah, it's hotter here than it was in Hawaii, because Hawaii, it's 86 degrees every day, and we're going to be above that. It's going to definitely feel more like 80 than 86. So, yeah, instead of a little toasty, for next weekend, it's going to be a lot toasty. Now, that's my personal opinion, but it is going to be hot, I think, just objectively speaking. So, for now, not too bad. It's a little bit muggy, and that's why you're seeing that fog, because there's no wind to kind of mix up the air. So you see downtown Fayetteville there, it's a pretty foggy scene there. Bentonville not looking too shabby. Springdale not looking too shabby. A little bit there in Poto. Ozark along the river. You can see that a little bit in Fort Smith. Not looking too bad. So just across the area, there are going to be areas where, especially if you're in low-lying spots, or in or near bodies of water, it is going to be a little bit foggy. Down to 2 miles there in Siloam Springs, as well as Fayetteville. Eastern Benton County seeing quite a bit of fog. Poto there down to 1 mile. Sallisaw 5 miles. So again, just be mindful of that as you walk out the door. A little bit of fog for your Monday morning. In terms of the temperatures, we're going to see that in the low to mid 80s later this afternoon through the 70s this morning. A lot of cloud cover for the morning and early afternoon. And a little bit more sunshine during the later afternoon. A little bit more sunshine for the River Valley, but not as much. But it's still going to be pretty warm nonetheless. Now, besides that warmth, we do have a chance of severe weather. This has changed from yesterday. We do have now a level 2 risk for all of Wednesday, or for the entire area for Wednesday. This is going to be Wednesday evening into the early overnight hours. We'll talk about that more coming up in your full forecast. For now, we'll take a look at traffic here. This is going to be along I-540 along the Arkansas River. Good morning to you there. Nothing too shabby out there. Traffic moving smoothly all across the 5 News coverage area. Again, we'll have that complete forecast for you coming up in just about 10 minutes. Joe and Tiffany.
Thanks for that, Danny. Well, developing overnight, the manhunt in Minnesota now over. The suspect in the shootings of the 2 Democratic state lawmakers and their spouses was taken into custody Sunday night.
Minnesota Representative Melissa Waterman and her husband Mark died, while the 2 other victims are recovering this morning. Police say Vance Luther Bolter is believed to have impersonated a law enforcement officer at the time of the shootings. They say he was armed when he was taken into custody with no use of force, though police say they believe the suspect acted alone in the shootings. Minnesota's governor has called the attacks politically motivated.
This cannot be the norm. It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences.
The suspect is also charged with attempted murder in the shootings of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette. Both are now recovering from their injuries. Police say the investigation continues into the suspect's motive and that he was interviewed last night by investigators.
Over the weekend, we learned that the suspected shooter has ties to Arkansas. Local pastor Daniel Toussaint says that he worked with the suspect Vance Bolter at Gerber and Fort Smith. He says Bolter was a supervisor for a time. The 2 worked together for about a year and even formed a friendship.
It was very faith-oriented, very family-oriented. I thought he was great to work with. We got along great. He seemed to lead people well. Never saw him lose his cool.
He says that they kept in touch for several years after, which made Bolter's name stand out instantly when it appeared in national headlines. Bolter's LinkedIn says he worked as a supervisor at Gerber from 1999 to 2004, but it doesn't specify a location. We have reached out to Gerber and Gerber's parent company, Nestle, as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, but we haven't heard back yet.
Well, demonstrators crowded into streets, parks, and plazas across the U.S. on Saturday to protest President Trump marching through downtowns and blaring anti-authoritarian chants, mixed with support for protecting immigrant rights. Organizers of the No Kings demonstration said millions marched with governors across the U.S. urging calm and vowed no tolerance for violence, all while some mobilized the National Guard ahead of marchers gathering. Confrontations were isolated. Over the weekend on Face the Nation, Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal and Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton spoke on the demonstrations and continued ICE investigations.
The use of military, whether it's the National Guard or the Marines, can be inflammatory and provocative. We had protests across the country yesterday that were entirely peaceful.
I don't think ICE is going to show up at one or two restaurants where they have an illegal migrant working. Usually it's unscrupulous employers who have large numbers of illegal immigrants working in their work sites.
Meanwhile, tensions remain high in Southern California as federal authorities conducted more immigration raids over the weekend. Well, Iran and Israel traded missile attacks overnight as talks with the U.S. on Iran's nuclear program were called off.
Eyes are now in the White House watching for if and when America might get involved in the war. Naomi Ruckham brings us the latest.
Another sleepless night in Israel, with Iran launching a new round of missiles as what some are calling a war between the two enters its fourth day. In the U.S., President Donald Trump has maintained consistent communication with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens, but sometimes they have to fight it out. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal.
According to a new report overnight, President Trump opposed a recent Israeli plan to kill Iran's supreme leader. But Netanyahu wouldn't comment on that claim during an interview Sunday on Fox News.
And I'm not going to get into that. We'll do what we need to do. And I think the United States knows what is good for the United States.
President Trump has said if any U.S. armed forces are hit by Iran, America will retaliate with full strength and might. And while many American lawmakers are urging for de-escalation, there is agreement that the fates of the U.S. and Israel are connected.
A nuclear-armed Iran is an unacceptable threat to the world, not just to Israel, but to the United States as well.
Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Well, according to U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee, one Iranian missile fell near the American consulate in Tel Aviv, causing minor damage. No Americans were injured.
Well, continuing coverage this morning, Jamie Waterman is said to be sentenced this week for helping his wife, Amber, cover up the murder of a pregnant mother from Benton County. He will appear before a federal judge in Springfield, Missouri on Tuesday after pleading guilty as an accessory fact to kidnapping resulting in death. Prosecutors say he admitted knowing his wife kidnapped and killed Ashley Bush and her unborn child, then helped hide the body and cover up the crime. The charge carries up to 15 years in federal prison without parole. Well, Amber Waterman has already pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison for the federal kidnapping charge. She's still awaiting a separate capital murder trial in Benton County, where prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty. Ashley Bush was 31 weeks pregnant at the time of her death. Investigators say Amber Waterman kidnapped Bush in Arkansas and took her to Missouri in a plot to raise the baby as her own. Amber's next court date is set for July 7th.
Well, a Fayetteville City Council member is proposing a $630,000 plan to provide a temporary but immediate solution for the city's unhoused population. The City Council is set to vote on the proposal. That'll happen tomorrow night. Now, the resolution from Council member Sarah Moore would fund a city-supported safe camping site as part of a 12-month pilot program. It comes a week after plans to sweep a homeless encampment on University of Arkansas land, which sparked some backlash. Mayor Molly Ron hosted a listening session back on June 8th, the day before that sweep was scheduled. Meanwhile, Seven Hills Homeless Center in Fayetteville is advocating against the proposal. They're calling for a more permanent solution in a letter that they posted on Facebook.
Arkansas baseball is looking to get back on the winning side of things at the Men's College World Series after falling to LSU over the weekend. The Tigers kept the Hogs' bats fairly quiet as they won 4-1 in the opening round. Well, now it's time to win or go home for Arkansas from here on out until the championship series. Today, the season will hang in the balance as the Omahags face the Murray State Racers. The first pitch is set for 1 p.m. Our 5 News Sports team will have you covered with all the highlights from Omaha after the game. Well, this morning we want to see how you're supporting the Hawks during their College World Series run. Send us pictures, whether you're in the stands in Omaha or at a local watch party. Send that to 479-785-5000, and we'll show them this week right here on 5 News This Morning.